Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to The Scene. This is a space for entrepreneurs who are building something meaningful and want to do it in a way that supports both their business and their life. On this show, we share the real entrepreneur stories, the journeys behind the business, what worked, what didn't, and the lessons you only learn by actually doing the work. My goal is to inspire, motivate, and give you practical insights you can use to build a business that feels more stable, more aligned, and more sustainable. Because here's the truth. Many of you have started your business, but clients aren't consistent yet. And that makes income feel a little more fragile than you care to have. And you're good at what you do. You have been competent and respected for years, but now you're expected to talk about your work, be visible, sell, often without a clear framework or real feedback. And that can feel awkward, exposed, and heavier than it should. It shouldn't be this hard to build a business after being competent and respected for so long. And that's where my work comes in. I help independent solopreneurs and service-based business owners build consistent clients and more stable income by clarifying how they position themselves, what they say, and how they show up, without becoming salesy or pretending to be someone they're not. My focus is on turning real expertise into clear, confident messaging that supports visibility and, more importantly, client attraction. I use practical tools, including AI, to reduce friction and help people find clarity faster. Not to replace their judgment or voice, but to make the process easier and more sustainable. And through conversations here on The Scene, you'll hear from people who've walked the path, sharing insights, encouragement, and perspectives so you don't feel like you're figuring this out on your own. And I'm so glad you're here. So today, I'm really happy to welcome my guest, Mark Harbeke, to The Scene. Mark has been working in the marketing space since 2006 and brings a grounded, practical approach to helping solopreneurs and micro business owners grow without the noise, without the hype, or without the overwhelm. He's the founder of Harbeke Marketing, where he helps business owners improve their websites, understand what's actually happening behind the scenes with analytics, and generate more targeted leads so their efforts lead to real momentum and not just activity. And one of Mark's core areas of expertise is helping people clearly define who their ideal client profile is. And through this, he helps them build their leads. He helps clients drill down into who they really want to work with, including the industry's roles, revenue ranges, and locations. So their marketing and outreach finally feels focused and effective. So please help me welcome my guest, Mark. I am so excited to have you, Mark. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me, Kim. It's great to be here.
So, Mark, Happy New Year. I feel like I can say that for one or two more days. And
Happy New Year.
how is your 2026 going?
It's going well. Yeah, it's off to a good start. I recently got a new client, and they have a lot of hours. I've been onboarding with them recently, and it's in the analytics space, which is my wheelhouse. And yeah, it's been great to work with their CEO and their team, and their team is geographically dispersed, and I've had some experiences like that in the past, so it's great to go back to that. And yeah, it's been a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
Excellent. That sounds like a great start. So, Mark, what I usually love to do is I love to start with the human side of the business. Can you share a bit about your journey and how you got started and what led you to the work you do today?
Yeah, definitely. So I actually went to school for a different focus. I was in journalism, and so that was my degree, and I did that for a couple years after graduating. And then in 2006, I got a job offer in the marketing side for a nonprofit, and it was pretty cool because I was able to use my writing skills and editing, along with some kind of burgeoning skills that I was doing outside of my day job for. Of course, social media was more in the infancy at that point, so I was helping mainly just solopreneurs to set up social profiles and post, and also was kind of myself getting into personal and business website development and design. So I was able to use those skills that I was moonlighting on, with writing and editing for my first job in marketing, and I've stayed in that track ever since. And yeah, this is actually my 20th year in marketing.
Wow, wow. Well, you look great. That's fantastic, and I love the fact that you were working for a nonprofit, and you brought those skills to something new. I love hearing how people transition, and so when you were talking about it, the one thing that I would love to know a little bit more is, was it? Did you ever really think that you were going to have your own business?
That is something that's changed. Yeah, for my first years in marketing, yeah, I just thought I would stay in that track. I eventually did rise to some roles where I was, leading marketing departments, and was for marketing director and director of marketing for a couple firms, and I really liked that. But I had had one layoff where I was my title at that point was project director, but I was pretty much day to day doing marketing work for a company. And so that was back in like late 2017. I had that layoff, and then I had another one in for a job that I had had for about a year. And at that point, when I was laid off, that was spring of 2023. That was my second one. And in that job for the year that I was there, I thought to myself, well, if this doesn't pan out, I really like it, but if they let me go, then this will be my signal. At that point, I was getting close to like 45 years old, and I'm like, I'd really like to, control my own destiny and get 100% of the pie instead of a piece for whatever the business is going to give me. So yeah, that was my impetus, my second layoff in early 2023, and by that summer, I had founded my company, Harbeke Marketing, and yeah, I felt great, and I haven't looked back.
It's funny how sometimes we need that little push to actually do something that in the end is the right thing for us, right?
Definitely, yeah, I think that's the case for a lot of solopreneurs.
Yes, well, definitely was for me because I don't think that I would have done it without a little push too. So Mark, when you work with the people that you work with now, whether it's solopreneurs or small business owners, what's the most common moment where things start to feel off for them in their business, especially when they're trying to do marketing?
Yeah, great question. So for me, for my marketing specialties, this manifests in three main ways. For lead generation, they've tried solutions, some of the main ones that are out there, like Zoom Info and Apollo, but they're not seeing the level of responses that they expect. Another key area is for website conversions, from landing pages, where their offer and or the call to action is not resonating or really converting as well as they need. And then finally, for website analytics, in a lot of cases, they're not using anything to track what users are doing on their website, or they've installed Google Analytics because it's free and widely used, but they don't have time to navigate its learning curve, and get the full benefits out of it.
So the two applications that you mentioned in the beginning, do you want to just explain what those are in case people don't know what they were? The Zoom or
Yeah, yeah, Zoom Info and Apollo.
yeah.
So they're I think Zoom Info has actually been around longer, but yeah, there are solutions where you can plug in parameters of what you're looking for leads. So they're lead sourcing platforms. So you can plug in things like job title, um, revenue range for companies that you want to seek, employee count, geography, yeah, several different parameters, and it spits out leads that you can, and it kind of depends on what they store in their database. And a lot of these
Mhm.
companies will, get sources from multiple databases, usually all public info. So yeah, that's basically it. And I on my website I have a B2B lead sourcing solution. I'm working with a different tool that does compete with those two. It came on the market more recently. Um, so yeah, I'm a competitor to them.
So interesting. The people that you help, who would you say your ideal client is?
Well, um, for analytics, it would be business owners who are either solopreneurs, or maybe they do have a larger team, but it's their first time running a business, and they know, of course, some basic metrics from their website. They can see, maybe they see how many visits in general. Maybe um, they probably see through things like emails and phone calls and form submissions. They generally know a little bit about how it's converting at a high level, and of course they know how many sales they're getting, but they don't know other metrics, like time on page, um, bounce rate, different conversions from different touch points or conversion points on the site. Things like forms could be uh, lead magnet forms, could be newsletter forms, all types of forms. Um, and the tracking that I work on, I work heavily just in GA4, or Google Analytics 4, the current version of that.
Right.
Um, so I like working in there and setting up custom events so that business owners can really measure. Um, Oftentimes, especially for like coaches and consultants, and even B2B, like tech companies. Many of them will have like a prominent call to action in their top menu, like contact us or book
Yeah.
now. So yeah,
Right.
so I help set up events where you can either track them at a global level across all pages, where you've got a call to action button that's in the top menu and or footer or the bottom menu. Um, or it can even be measuring forms and button clicks and downloads and other events per page, like on a high ticket landing page.
And I know that especially people that are into data are like, data is so important. And, share, if you could think about the solopreneur, the people that are working on their own. And, you think about all of the things that they have going on. Measuring all of this data isn't necessarily the first top thing on their mind. Um, but what's one mistake that you see over and over again that really costs people leads without them realizing it?
Yeah, so one trend I'm seeing in my business and with clients is that is AI outreach tools that do a poor job, oftentimes, of scraping relevant content, um, relevant recent content from website and social to output something. Um, like if you get an email from one of these businesses that uses this tactic, you'll get the email will say, "Oh, hey, I noticed that you're doing blah blah blah," or they just scraped a recent win that somebody shared on social, or scrape something from their website about something the lead does, and kind of flatter the person that they're reaching out to. But then those emails will pretty much immediately jump to a service or offer, and oftentimes that's unrelated to what they raised at the beginning of their cold email. So I get those. Like I said, I get those. My clients get them, and when I see them, I want to shake the shoulders of business owners who use this automation, and just tell them there are better ways to do, you know, this outreach, which I would call personalized outreach. It's not really personalized. Um, so businesses who use this kind of tactic, and it seems to be more and more of these all the time, would get far more high intent leads and conversions from them if they had even low level staff follow contacts on LinkedIn and their website, and reach out based on need and timing, aligned with what their leads are doing and their most pressing pain points.
So that's really interesting that you're bringing that up. Is we still need to have that human connection.
Definitely, yeah, I think it's more important than ever.
Yeah. Um, so, and it's interesting that you say that on LinkedIn, because I have found that sometimes in my DMs in LinkedIn, they're very much like the first scenario that you mentioned. Um, and I wonder if those are automated or AI generated as well. Maybe they are.
They often are, at least the ones that I get. Yeah, you can kind of
Yeah.
tell the same formula. Sometimes it's the exact same formula, but yeah, it looks very similar between DMs that do that and emails.
So if you notice that, and if I notice that, other people are obviously noticing that. So why would people be wasting their time doing this sort of outreach?
Well, I guess my opinion on that is that um, I think they're catching, business owners who are either newer um, and or, not as tech savvy, and they just the businesses that promote these tools say, hey, it is personalization, and we're grabbing something that we can see that your lead is doing, and um, and the automation, so that the business owner doesn't, they probably just have to feed um, emails and names and contact info into it, and then
Mm-hmm.
have it output and send to people. So I think it's marketed as um, just very low touch, very low time commitment for the companies that use this, and probably a very low price point. But this is one of
Mm-hmm.
those cases where you get what you pay for.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, buyer beware. Pay attention. Don't just sign up to any old thing. Make sure you do your research and know what's behind it. And makes me think maybe get a demo of what they do. Yeah. So another thing that you and I both really align on is that we feel like people really need to know who their ideal client is. So can you share with me what does it look like when someone hasn't clearly defined their ideal client, and how does that show up in their marketing analytics?
Yeah, wonderful question. So people watching and listening to this should check out one of my clients. His name is Eric Moore, Moore, and he's in the Seattle area. And his company is Brand Autopsy Messaging Services. And so he helps tech companies revamp their messaging to go from dry language about product and service features to plain and simple language about who they help, how they help them, and what the benefits are. So definitely, get in contact with him or somebody who does that. Um, some ways that this lack of definition shows up in website marketing is things like about us pages that are 75% or more about the company instead of that percentage or more about the client or customer, as well as things like website call to action buttons that are left as stock from the website platforms, where businesses are just running with buttons that say, sign up for our newsletter,
Right.
or simply submit on a contact or a lead magnet form. And these that language is included in the templates, but these are the actual touch points with your ideal clients. And so these touch points are opportunities for businesses to inject some personality, often based on their branding and mission, into how they show up.
Right.
And then one other thing I would add is that um, when it comes to website analytics, low time on page for pages that are focused on educating and building trust, things like blog posts, blog posts and case studies,
Mm-hmm.
along with when you see high bounce rates, these are signals that there's misalignment between your ideal clients and the content that's currently being served up.
That's very interesting. So I have two things that I want to just ask you. So when you talk about magnets, and um, I'm of the same mindset that sign up for a newsletter is pretty generic, and I don't know a lot of people that do that unless they know the person really well, and I've seen some of their newsletters. But how would you personalize that to your ideal client? Can you give us an example?
Well, if you have a little bit more information on your client, like demographics or psychographics, probably
Mm-hmm.
even more psychographics, then you could play with that phrasing. There's platforms where you can either natively in your website management platform or using a third-party tool to serve up ABC testing pages, so you're not always serving the same page to every visitor. So
Right.
you could serve
Oh,
up.
that's interesting. That's
Yeah,
very interesting.
yeah, and of course, I mean, you can play with a lot of elements there. You wouldn't just play with like the call to action if there's a button or the language around the button. You could even, change up the language on the entire page. But doing, using a tool like that, doing some testing, um, you could, if there's like, we were talking about nonprofits earlier.
Yeah.
A lot of the best nonprofit pages in general, and especially like, key pages like donate pages, have
Yeah.
very, very compelling, and that again gets to understanding like who your donor often is. They have very compelling photos of, helping children or whatever the demographic, or the subject that's being helped. Um, High quality, high resolution photos. If it's photos, maybe on that page putting a video. Of course, there's time to, um, develop it and post that and get a great video. But yeah, don't discount high quality, high resolution images and video. Um, Whether it's in a nonprofit donation capacity or another capacity, there's a lot of companies who are using, video on like the homepage, in the top section, which is called the hero section.
Hmm.
Um, so that's being used more and more. But don't be afraid to use video on other pages as well.
So when you say video, what do you like? Even on your main homepage, um, you're not talking about just beauty pictures. Are you talking about like a message, a specific where click to start message, or could it be either?
It could be either. I was mainly thinking on like the top section or above the fold.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a lot of solutions have either just video that plays. Often there's like an opacity screen above it, so you're not just seeing like the video, which can be kind of, depending on the context, it could be a little bit too distracting. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
companies will use like a layer of opacity over it, like a
Mm-hmm.
like a a shade of white or gray or something like that.
Yeah,
So it blends in a little bit, but it still stands out enough to get your attention. Um, so
and
that's
shows something more about the company.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
one usage of that is, on, if you have a company like on the about page for a company, if your mission and your core values are about, helping all stakeholders, maybe not just your, customers and your employees, but everybody, the planet. Um, there's a there's a lot of companies like companies that are certified B Corps, are all about helping, like, yes, making profits, but helping, people
Right.
in the planet. So
Right.
that's all about the three P's. So if you
Yeah.
had an about page, a great way to use, images and or video would be to, if you're out in the community. Um, I worked for a company a while back that, um, had some time where employees were paid to go to, some shelters and some other places
Oh,
in the
like doing volunteer.
yeah, volunteer community work shelters, and they took photos of their employees, actually being, in the community. And if you do that, that's a compelling way, just for one page example, to show, that you're not just, talking the talk for, this is our values, but you're um, walking the talk.
Yeah, that's really interesting too, because I don't know why, but I was on, maybe I was on IKEA's site for something, looking for something, and I came across their about page, and they talk about things that they do in the community, it made me read it. I was like interested, and um, it makes it more. It makes it more like real people and people that care. So I agree. So my other thing
Definitely.
that I have to ask is, because things seem to be changing so much in marketing, especially in 2026. Everybody's talking about changes, and um, talk to me about blogs and blog articles on your website. How important are they? Are they important anymore?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm on the side that they are important. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's been a lot of discussion I've noticed over the past. It seems to have died down a little bit, at least from what I'm seeing in my feed. But for the, going back like 6 months to a year ago, there was a lot of chatter in LinkedIn in the tech space and in marketing, saying that because the focus is shifting so much to AI, engine optimization, that blogging, you don't have to focus on that as much for SEO, and what's the point? But just because, I mean, number one, you will still get traction for SEO.
Right.
I've been a little bit behind on my own company blog, but typically I've posted. Back in the day, I used to post like once a week or once every 2 weeks, and lately it's been like once a month. But
Yeah.
I get most of my traffic from organic Google search and a few other search engines, a few pickups here and there from ChatGPT and other AI, but mostly Google organic search.
Mm-hmm.
So you're still going to get visitor benefits. So there is still, despite all the naysayers, there is still SEO benefits. So keep doing it for that. But besides
Right.
that, I actually have a blog on my website about other ways that you can use blog posts besides just having it show up in um, Google search or search engine search and AI engines. A lot of ways, if you're somebody who attends even a low number of networking events, or especially like virtual networking events, there's lots of events like, for example, an Alignable, and tons of events that are Zoom networking that you can find on LinkedIn. So
Right.
if you are continually, even if you're not doing it that often, like one blog post that you're publishing every month or two,
Mm-hmm.
then that's something new that is talking about what you do and your voice and what you think. And so those are great things to share in different ways, before, during, and after virtual networking events. And that's just one channel. So,
As
um,
a blog, as a blog.
right.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. I never thought of that. And I really appreciate you bringing up, like, because it is even something I considered, like, and I have been very lax. Like last year, I was doing newsletters and I wasn't really posting them on my website like I used to, but because I wasn't sure if it mattered anymore. And, it wasn't, you're doing so many different things, right? But I will start putting them on my website now. And that's a great, great tip about if you're going to a conference or something to have some more information on your website that's relevant. That's such a great tip. I thank you for that.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I mean, I'm a writer anyway, like I mentioned from my background, so I enjoy it, and that comes naturally to me. But um, yeah, there's lots of benefits. There's lots of ways that you can use that one blog link. You mentioned newsletters, and in fact, I'm working on that right now for my client that I mentioned. We're talking about, we've written some blog posts recently, and this probably won't be everything in their newsletter updates that are going out to their contacts, but new blog posts is going to be a big part of it. So yeah, it's a good. Besides just sitting on your website and living there, it's
Yeah.
great to have that fodder for different kinds of email updates.
Yeah. So and repurposing is still a good thing. Like, it's not like you have to reinvent the wheel, right? But to
That,
put it in different places for different audience people to get.
yeah, that's right. There's lots of different tools. I know that a while back I tested Cast Magic. So there's different tools out there like that one where you can, even not just a full blog post, but if you have like blog posts and different articles have blocks on the page that are called quotes or pull quotes.
Oh
So
yes,
so
yes.
a key idea from the blog post. So that could be something you could take the pull quote and put that in an image, and then, I mean, of course you'll have some copy around it, but that all of that together, the copy and the image itself with the pull quote, can be, um, th- there you have a new social post right there.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So, yeah, it's that marketing flywheel, right? So get them from different areas and show up in different areas, but don't make it twice as hard for yourself. I love that. Take out quotes from your blog, or make your newsletter into your blog. And yeah, it's such a great idea for people to be able to be on social a bit more, because I hear that is one of the complaints I hear over and over again is it's just so much. It's just so much.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's the name of the game is as you amass more content, even if it's not that big of a library, yeah, just thinking about how you can slice and dice it. There's ever more AI tools that help with that, so you're taking even less time. But yeah, that's the whole thing.
And talking about AI and your content too, I think it's amazing. And I am a huge supporter of AI and how it can help you. But I really find that some of my articles, or whether it's newsletter or articles or social posts, when I put a little bit more of my own story or my own thoughts into it, they do better. They still do better than just the AI info.
For sure. Yeah, and I'm seeing that somewhat with me. I There's some contacts that I follow where I'm amazed at the traction that I get. And yeah, you hear this over and over. It's like the posts that you plan out and you really, put a lot of time and thought in it. Some of them, of course, will do well. But yeah, it's the posts where I've seen a lot of traction from people I know where, maybe their significant other or their, employee just takes a picture of them, outside the office by a rock. And share some thought with that and about, getting outside and rethinking and, um, basically getting away from the desk. And,
Yeah,
it could be, pictures and or video. Some people will do like your, a vertical video where you're holding your phone and you're just doing kind of a walk and talk and stuff like
yeah,
that where it takes less time, it's less planned, but you're right. Oftentimes that does better.
yeah. And um, I think it's great. Like I love the AI for helping me get all the facts and the research and get some ideas and get some stuff out there. But sometimes I'll even read it and then think of something that was like, oh, that reminds me of when I did. And if I put even just a little bit of personal stuff in, I find that people really like that. Uh, so it's
Yeah.
an interesting world, and I'm going to tell everybody I do use AI. I use it all the time because it is so helpful. So I'm not saying don't use it.
For sure. One thing I would just add to this that, besides AI, I think if I'm an iPhone user, so, my Notes app, but, the equivalent on whatever phone you have, that can be your best friend, especially if you're away from your desk. And I think it's very important to capture, like you said, you were thinking of one thing and that made you think of something else. Um,
Yeah,
don't, try not to lose that thought if that happens to you as a business owner, whether you just think of something in general or you're working on something and then something else comes to mind. It's so quick and easy. Just, uh, within your notes, turn it into, microphone and record your voice and have it do voice to text so you don't even have to type it out. But yeah, make sure to
I love
capture
that. That's
capture
one of the best inventions ever.
yeah, so and some of it takes kind of muscle and brain memory to get into that rhythm. But yeah, the more that you can do that, you're just going to help yourself so much later to have more content in the bank.
Yeah, I love it. This has been great. Great tips and making us think about different things for our website and attracting people. So, looking back on your journey, who do you wish that, or what do you wish that you understood sooner about your own business growth or clarity?
Yeah, a couple things. I would say that um, it's okay to be ready to fire the trigger in terms of saying no, and even more in that mindset for saying no than saying yes. Um, a lot of people when you're starting out, there's the pressure. I totally understand the pressure, and I've been there to say yes to pretty much everything in order to have income coming in, or if it's a job for low pay or free, to have stuff to build a case study or something like that, build assets so you can get to the next level. But at the same time, it's important to take a beat to really think about and game out the time and the scope of client communication, and even client temperament before saying yes to something. So that's something I would impart. And then another thing is for of course I'm thinking of marketing businesses, but this could be for any businesses that heavily involve creativity and imagination. As you spend more time on it and you're attracting and serving clients, it's very important to separate tasks that are more feel good from those that are the most revenue generating. And so those two are not necessarily in the same bucket. And one example for me in my business was trying to post most days on LinkedIn and other socials where I felt good about using my creative muscles and in what I was saying, but many of the posts weren't moving me forward in terms of generating responses and getting leads into my client acquisition journey.
That's that's really good tip there. This has been great, and you have been. I have to say thank you for saying yes to coming on the show and sharing your information. Um, so, one final question: if you could leave our audience with one simple tip or reminder, what would it be?
I'll do two. I think they're brief enough. One would be to do a fresh test if you've never done this or if you haven't done this in a long time. Do a fresh test of all the forms on your website, and they can sometimes break, especially when with staff changes and with that email inboxes that are no longer being checked. So make sure that you or someone on your team is getting all the forms that come in, or that they for sure are going into your CRM and are generating follow-ups.
Right.
Um, and another tip is to take a fresh look at your about page. If you, as the business owner, are very familiar with it, you might ask your newest team member, or maybe even somebody outside the business, to review it for how much it speaks to your ideal client. And if that page is overwhelmingly about what you do in your history and not about how you help the person reading it, then it's probably time for a rewrite.
Ooh, that's both of those are great. And both of those made me think about things to think about in 2026. So thank you for that, Mark. So how do people get in touch with you, Mark?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, and my website is harbeckmarketing.com, Harbeke marketing.com.
I'm going to just put that in here. Marketing.com. So there we go. There we go. Did I
Oh,
spell
thank
that
you.
right? So if you want to get in touch or find out a little bit more about Mark here, go to harbeckmarketing.com. Mark Harbeck is also on LinkedIn. And that's probably a great place to connect and message if you want to connect with Mark. Can people get in touch with you and ask you some questions if they have thoughts and more questions have come up since this?
Yeah, definitely. I love giving lots of free tips in general, and yeah, if people are looking to connect with certain people, um, I have a pretty diverse network, so I'm happy to help somebody find somebody else, and or answer any questions, especially if it relates to marketing. But yeah, I'm ready to talk to folks.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing your story, sharing your tips. They were great tips, good things for everybody to think about, especially at the beginning of the year. Let's tidy up and clean up our websites and make sure that they're talking to the right people and that we have the right buttons and links and making sure everything is working. Yeah, so thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Kim. It's been great.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next time in The Scene Live. Bye for now.